My name is Jonathan. I'm an Urbexer in a city, which I won't disclose for privacy reasons. For those of you who don't know what the term urbexing is, it's short for urban exploring. Urban exploring is something I do as a hobby in my free time. I explore all kind of creepy, abandoned places, such as houses, factories, schools, and other buildings. I have encountered my fair share of creepy stuff, from creepy people to the paranormal. However, something I discovered recently is unlike anything I have ever encountered before. It was one afternoon when I decided to explore an underground sewer tunnel. The entrance of the underground canal was located in a large gutter that was fenced off, just on the outskirts of my town. I brought the usual necessities for my exploration: a backpack full of a camera and camera equipment, a knife, flashlight, pepper spray, and some snacks. I hopped over the fence and made my way to the entrance of the huge underground tunnel. Even though I've explored places like this for years now, I never quite lose the heebie-jeebies. I started walking through the tunnel. For miles it was just a long straight path with some twists and turns here and there. I stumbled upon a couple room-like cavities as well. These are always the most unnerving for me when exploring underground tunnels. Not only is it pitch black being underground, but some rooms in the sewer tunnels are so large that they stretch beyond the reach of my flashlight. You never know who or what could be in the dark reaches of those areas just out of view. I was deep enough in the tunnel to where water almost reached up to my waist. That is when I discovered the last room of my trip. I say lost because after going in there I decided to call an end to my trip soon after. The room was small enough for my flashlight to illuminate the entire cavity. In the middle of the flooded floor stood a single wooden table. There was no one or nothing else in the room other than myself. On that table was a single, raggedy old notebook. It would have been a disservice to myself if I wouldn't have opened it up and read it. Most of the pages of the notebook were torn out and missing, but the small amount that remained were full of writing. Here's what they contained. It was around 11 PM at night when I was prowling around Simon Street. I like to look around for any lights still on in any of those large office buildings that surround the street. That means there's a poor soul still working, all alone, while most people are at home already. To my surprise, the main door to the building was still unlocked. I took the stairwell up to the 10th floor, where the one room was still illuminated. I crawled silently through the hallway down where the room was. No one can hear me. No one can ever hear me coming. I snuck in the room with ease and looked around the corner of one of the cubicle dividers. There was a woman still on her computer. I easily made the leap from where I was crouching to pounce right on top of her. I ripped off her skull with one of my hands tangled in her hair. She was screaming so loud, so full of fear and anguish. When I decided I've had enough, I sunk my canine teeth into her corroded artery. She bled to death pretty quickly. I was more kind this time around. This will be my 15th victim. No one will find me, and no one will ever stop me. This had to be one of my most enjoyable hunts. This time around, my victim was a gang member. These types of people are my favorite. They act so strong and so tough. That is, until they find themselves in my presence. Then they realize just how utterly weak and worthless they are. He was in an abandoned warehouse. I had already killed 3 of his other partners in front of him. But him, well, I made him an exception. He immediately tried to flee once after he saw me and what I had done. I caught him with ease, but I let him go. I let him run a little longer. Then I caught him again. This time I bit and tore open his calf on his right leg to slow him down a little. I love catch and release. I gave him just a glimmer of hope, allowing him to think he had the slightest chance of escaping me. This is a man who terrorized and put fear in the life of so many people, and yet here he was, crying and running for his life. The 4th time I caught him, he shot me multiple times, but his bullets failed to penetrate my thick hide. That's when I saw him break. Once he realized I could do whatever the hell I wanted with him, and he couldn't do a damn thing about it. I bit deep into his lower spine and severed his vertebrae, which made his legs turn to jelly. And yet, he still tried to crawl away with his 2 hands. I almost felt bad for him, his will to survive. I decided to make his death a long one. I bit off each of his fingers and started to eat at his abdomen, then up. These people aren't the true victims. The only true victim is I. People made me the way I am, and now they have to deal with my repercussions. I am the one the world has forgotten, doomed to be forever alone, with no one to trust, with no one to like me, ever since I existed. I will continue to take what I deserve and what I want. I am the most powerful I have ever been. I will be stopped by no one. I can't even stop myself. My 20th victim. I stalked this couple for weeks. I watched them spiral more and more into paranoia each day from the trees of their very own yard. I walked around the top of their roof almost every night. Every time they went to check up on the roof, I stayed just out of their sight. Their backyard is connected to a small patch of woods. That's where I hid their dog's body after I killed it. They had no idea what happened to him. Their precious pet just disappeared from their home, never to be seen again, much like what happened to them. I set off their car alarms nightly and bit open each of their tires to flatten them. Of course, they called the police multiple times, but they were of no use. They could never find me. No one ever can. I started to enter their house through the chimney while they were asleep. I broke their things, tore up their furniture, and took their food. That's when they finally broke. I heard them screaming at each other for about an hour the next morning. The funniest thing about people is how they turn against each other during times of hardships rather than working together. Such an underdeveloped species. I eventually got bored of torturing this couple and finally put them out of their misery. I broke through their bedroom window one night while they were sleeping and killed them both. I wrote this in the hopes that someone will eventually find it. I wish to be amused by what someone will do with the evidence and if they ever will succeed with solving the puzzle. I am planning to go to the next town over. Pretty soon, people will disappear from that town as well. No one knows where I am and no one will ever see me coming. I immediately made a hasty retreat after I read that notebook. I made sure to take a few pictures of the pages I saw. I didn't take the book as evidence because I have a personal rule to never take things from places I explore. I never want to risk harboring any negative energy. Ever since I finished reading that notebook, I felt as if I was being watched. As if the author of that book could have been somewhere in there with me, even though I never saw them. I heard a small splash in the distance behind me as I was sprinting back to the entrance of the tunnel. It freaked me the hell out, but it also could have been my imagination. You might be thinking, why this finding in particular freaked me out so bad, that it could just have been some weirdo writing out his sick fantasies or just some prankster trying to scare people. Here's the kicker though. Recently, there has been a series of mysterious murders just outside of my town, and a lot of them sounded eerily similar to the description in the notebook. People being torn apart, as if some serial killer animal has gone around mauling people to death. What I thought was interesting, in the notebook the killer depicted themselves entering some office building, which means that the killer could possibly be on camera, considering that most office buildings have cameras. But I've never heard of any images or new evidence being brought up. The police could have been trying to hide something about that case, maybe something unexplainable. I was contemplating showing the police the pictures of the notebook I found, but they might just think it's some prank I'm trying to pull. Recently though, I've woken up past midnight a couple of nights in a row, with no recollection of what exactly woke me up. but sometimes if I listen closely, I swear I could hear noises, like some type of movement, rustling or tapping sounds outside of my bedroom window. I checked outside my bedroom window one morning and found some scratch marks on the glasses of my window, but no footprints. I am honestly freaked the fuck out now. I don't know if it's my paranoia getting the best of me or if I have a genuine reason to be afraid. After all, there has been a series of murders surrounding my town. But how could the owner of that notebook possibly have followed me home? I never saw anybody else in the sewer with me, especially not in the room where the notebook was found. I think the thing that unsettles me the most is the way they described how they like stalking people like prey, or how no one ever can see them coming. I think I'll install some cameras around my property just to be safe. I'll update if anything else happens.